So, hello, Miles. I'm so happy to have the talk with you, and I want to tell the people straight away that this is going to be something very special, and it's very important for them to stick through the whole interview because it's about them, it's about the people. But yeah, so you're doing this very big project, the Tele-Summit, mainly dedicated to Aikido, but I'm sure it's open to everyone.
Yeah.
Uh, so could you please tell us about that?
Well, first I want to say thanks to you for I mean I reached out to you to see if you would do an interview with me about the Telesummit because I'm kind of reaching out to all my friends in the Aikido world to really kind of raise the profile of what we've got coming up, and there's really kind of um, from my mind a special event. In fact, I would say it's kind of the first of its kind.
Yeah.
There's been lots of Aikido conferences and gatherings and really where you bring the larger community together in these international, national events, whatever, local and global. But this is going to be the first one that's happening online, and the great thing about online, I mean, the downside, of course, we don't meet in person, but the great thing is that you can do it from the comfort of your own phone, your own home, or the comfort of your own phone. It doesn't really matter. And we're
Mm.
going to bring together something like 30 different Aikido teachers, Aikido thought leaders, Aikido entrepreneurs, and people that are taking
Mm.
even Aikido principles into the world and having a bigger impact in the world through Aikido.
Right.
And we're going to come
Mm.
together for 10 days and like have a great mix and discussion and exploration of the art of Aikido. And the Telesummit's called Aikido at the Leading Edge, and it's going to
Right.
be for 10 days in May from May 12th to May 21st.
Right. Right. Well, in term, you mentioned the teachers, the instructors. You sent me the list, and it was an impressive list. Like there's some very impressive top famous Aikido people as I'm sure a lot of other names that everyone knows. So could you please tell us about that?
Sure. Well, this is just a partial list. In fact, by the time people see this,
Yeah.
we should have the whole list compiled. But
Hmm.
I've got a lot of invitations sent out, and I'm still waiting to hear back from a lot of people. But I'm very happy to say that so far we have Christian Tissier has agreed to participate. Of course, Patrick Cassidy, who you're with Patrick now there in Switzerland. Robert Frager
Right.
Sensei, Vince
Mm.
Salvatore, Roy Dean of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fame, but he's also an Aikido, has a great
Yeah.
Aikido
Yeah.
background, and he's got a wonderful media presence online. Josh
Right.
Gold, who's kind of taken over the helm of Aikido Journal, is going to be with us. The Reverend Koichi Barrish, who is an American Shinto priest, in fact, probably the only American Shinto priest. He's going to be with us. Linda Holiday Sensei, Susan Chandler Sensei, Dave Goldberg, and there's many, many more. But you've also agreed to be with us, Rokas, and
Mm.
so there's going to be lots of great, exciting teachers to come. The whole idea of this telesummit, it's kind of based on
Sure.
I mean, telesummits have been happening. Now that we have this kind of global internet connection and this really this power to create really kind of open networks where people can come together and share ideas and energy and friendship and community. There's been quite a few telesummits happening, many times in the spiritual world, in the meditation world, the yoga world, the business world. These things are not completely new, but this will be the first one that's happening, as far as I know, the first one that's
Mm.
happening for the Aikido world. And the whole vision was really to kind of not just bring the Aikido world together, because
Mm.
there is this idea, there is this, you've probably experienced, and your listeners have probably experienced it when you gather together with a group of like-minded people, some very, very creative and interesting things happen. Now,
Mm.
if the
Yeah.
context of the gathering is hierarchical by nature, then
Mm.
people can, let's say there's a shihan or a great teacher, everybody together, then people can actually grow and develop towards that ideal, whether it's a
Right.
person or an organization or whatever. If it's horizontal by nature,
Mm.
then what happens is not growing towards an ideal, but you get this kind of fermentation or this coming together of ideas where people start to kind of connect horizontally and begin to create networks where new ideas, where each individual person can have an impact on the whole. So the whole idea of this Aikido Tele-Summit is not just to be hierarchical and not just to be horizontal, but this kind of integration of the two, where we have these amazing teachers that are definitely at the top of the professional scale and really world leaders in Aikido, but also, people who, like yourself, who, you have your own dojo, you have your own YouTube channel, you're out there and you're having an impact, as a teacher and as an entrepreneur, in a way, you're having an impact in the Aikido world yourself. So bring all those people together in one place for a Tele-Summit and see how we can enrich each other, enrich
Right.
and enrich the art of Aikido and enrich the community, for sure. And
Right.
the idea is that, I think that Aikido is evolving through the ages, generation by generation, decade by decade.
Yeah.
And I do sense that there's an emerging paradigm that very much has to do with this vision that I'm talking about. And I see it emerging. I certainly see it, in my circles with what I'm doing, in Patrick's circles with what he's doing, and other teachers around the world. I see what they're doing. And I see this emerging in what they're doing. And there's also some limitations of the previous paradigms that we all run into, that everybody kind of run. These are the frustrations that, in a way, people feel like it's a little bit of a shame because it kind of pulls the art down. And okay, that's kind of natural that every paradigm has its boundaries and its reach, and people can grow up into it. But then it also has its limitations. And when we start to run into limitations of one paradigm, it's the very limitations that kind of inspire us to find a new solution. And the solution, the perspective of the next paradigm becomes a solution to the limitations of the previous paradigm. And this is kind of some of the stuff that I'm going to be looking into in this Tele-Summit. And basically, the whole idea of my approach, which is integral Aikido, but it's very much aligned also with the evolutionary approach and evolutionary Aikido, is that there's three core aspects. And these are three aspects that, it doesn't matter if you're doing Aikido or not. Most people can connect if you have a kind of an integrated worldview. And the first aspect is the spiritual depths, or the non-dual aspect of the art, which O-sensei clearly was coming through from a non-dual aspect. The second aspect of, he was coming from a non-dual perspective. The second aspect of integral Aikido is evolutionary perspectives, that we evolve through stages, and each stage is a point of view of reality. And from that point of view, you have a certain worldview, and you have certain values, and they're all good and healthy, but they're also limited. Each point of view has its truth, and each point of view has its limitation. So how can we evolve individually? How can we evolve as a community? And how can we evolve the art through these worldviews? So the first aspect is the non-dual perspective. The second aspect is the evolutionary, developmental, vertical learning. And the third aspect is, of course, Sangha, or community, that we come together around non-dual spirituality, and we come together organized around these evolutionary perspectives, and we evolve together. And the whole point of this Tele-Summit, is something we're doing in our community seminars already. But the whole point of this Tele-Summit is to kind of create that context that everybody can join together in. And if you think of evolution, Rokas, if you think of like two ecosystems that come together in nature, a forest and a desert, or something like that, there's two ecosystems. It's actually where those boundaries meet, and they start to kind of, in a way, compete with each other as two different ecosystems or two different perspectives that are kind of vying for the same ground. Well, that area where they meet is really the most kind of fermented and the most rich and the most creative interface. And it's the same thing when we come together with ideas or perspectives or beliefs or organizations or Aikido styles or approaches or generations. I'm in America, we say the baby boomers. I'm kind of at the very end of the baby boomer generations. You're a millennial. So those are two clearly different. We have very different worldviews and very different. We both love Aikido. We love to get together. We love to train together. But bring those two perspectives together and let that dialectic start to kind of create a greater understanding. So that's really the whole point of this Tele-Summit, is to come together and throw these different perspectives together and see what happens.
Yeah. Thanks. And yeah, so but in terms of the topics, what there's, as I said in the list, they're very interesting, they're very intriguing, and as you said, at the leading edge. It's not something that I think it's on the mind of a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
but not a lot of people address it. Not a lot of people talk about it, especially in the public level. So I'm sure people will be thrilled to hear what they can get to know about.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we're all practicing Aikido, and we love Aikido, and we love to practice. We love to practice
Right.
together. That's really why we're getting together, because I like to be with you, Rokas, and I like to practice together, and I like to kind of explore and learn together. And each one of us in that
Right.
has our own learning edge. You know, I've developed
Mm.
30 something years in Aikido now, and I've developed up to a certain point, but I'm learning every day, as are you. And when we come together, we learn together. And so we all have this leading edge. So the whole idea
Right.
in the teleconference is to come together and see where we're at and see where we're going. I'm not so much interested in the past for this telesummit. I'm not so much interested in where we've been in the history.
Mm.
And, for me, that's all great. We stand on the shoulders of giants for sure. But where are we going? And the way to kind of facilitate that, this telesummit is going to be broken into 4 parts. There's going to be interviews with teachers, entrepreneurs, thought leaders. There's going to be panel discussions where we get 3 or 4 teachers together and discuss a juicy topic. There's going to be workshops where one of the teachers or the presenter will actually lead the participants to a workshop, and there'll be a keynote address. So some of the teachers will just kind of give a talk, bringing forth their ideas. And all of this is going to be done online on the Zoom live video teleconference, which I'll speak about in just a minute. But some of the topics that we're going to go into are Aikido as piecework, Aikido and smart business, because any dojo cho or anybody who's actually tried to kind of create a
Mm.
platform for people to come together and practice Aikido have to
Right.
face this. And we're usually quite weak at it, to be honest. Most Aikido teachers are not the best at that, at least at the beginning. Another topic is impacting the world through Aikido, Aikido and non-duality, or Aikido and spirituality, Aikido and Zen. I have some Aikido teachers who are also Zen teachers that they're going to come together in a panel discussion. We're going to have a panel discussion on the media's impact in Aikido, which you'll be joining. How to leave, well, not
Mm.
how to leave, but leaving your dojo or leaving your teacher or leaving your organization, because this is a topic that comes up for many, many, many people in their practice. We're also going to be looking at Aikido as a healing art. The Uchideshi system in Aikido, is it still relevant? Aikido
Mm.
leadership, masculine, feminine principles in Aikido. Is Aikido a martial art? And the Shihan roundtable. We'll get some of the Shihans together on one panel and let them kind of share ideas and explore Aikido. So it's basically some of the conference topics. They're due to change, but that's basically what we're going to be looking at over the 10-day telesummit.
Mm. Yeah. I'm not sure if we mentioned that it's all free.
Yes, it is all, and that's the coolest thing about it. I mean, this thing's going to go for 10 days, from May 12th to May 21st, and it is
Right.
totally free. For the length of the conference, it's going to be kind of a global telesummit. The only thing you'll have to kind of enter your email address so we can keep you updated and enter you into the teleconference system,
Sure.
which we're going to be using
Right.
Zoom. And Zoom is a software
Mm.
that you can download to your phone and or your laptop or your desktop, and it's very super easy to use. It's all video conference, so you'll get to see the teachers, the presenters, and basically the
Mm.
format is we're going to get together, and usually for 1 hour we'll do the interview, the workshop, or the panel discussions, and then at the end of it, the last 30 minutes will be an opportunity for all the participants to raise their hand and jump in and ask questions to the presenters or the teachers. So it's very interactive teleconference. You'll be able to do it live, participate with the calls, and or afterwards you'll be able to listen to or watch the replay. In fact, you'll even, for the duration of the conference, you'll be able to download all of the talks, so you'll kind of keep it for your own archives. Um,
Right.
let's see. Yeah, and the other thing I want to mention is that I'm putting together a street team for this conference, which is basically
Right.
inviting people to help us spread the message. That it basically is going to require you to spend a little time each day to share all the conference and the conference ideas around on your social media. So if you are interested, reach out to me on Facebook, Miles Kessler, and just send me a quick message, and I'll let you know everything about the street team.
But can you tell a few words about that in terms of if somebody doesn't know the term,
Well, the street team is
like what they
basically,
can expect?
yeah, it's people who have clearly have a little bit of time on their hands, although it's not going to take a lot of time. And we're going to create. You're going to be like a special group of volunteers. If you ever go to a conference, there's always volunteers who are helping kind of move things along, and in return for their
Yeah.
service, they get to do the conference for free, or in this case, you'll get to
Mm-hmm.
participate in some special offers that we have for the street team. But basically, when you join the street team, you'll be part of an international group of people who are going to help me spread the word about the Tele-Summit. And we'll do that. We'll have a special kind of secret Facebook group, or so-called secret, a private Facebook group
Yeah.
where everybody comes together, and we'll be doing daily meetings, and I'll be sending stuff to you guys to share around each day, and I'll even do some special workshops just for the
Mm.
street team, like team building exercises and some cool Aikido stuff that will help us kind of congeal
Mm.
together and come together as one kind of functioning team.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so that's the
Well,
street team. So again, if you're
yeah.
interested in that, just reach out to me on Facebook, Miles Kessler, and I'll send you the information about that.
So one topic which is very interesting for me is, and I'm sure a lot of other people, you mentioned the Aikido entrepreneur. And I find it so great that you're touching that topic since I'm looking at that as well myself. And sometimes there's that kind of guilt feeling like that Aikido cannot be, it shouldn't be made into business. And then what's interesting is that I noticed that so many instructors struggle, then they can barely hold their dojos because they're kind of neglecting that money side, and then people just can't reach
And
them. So
and
I'm sort of happy
I
you're touching
yeah,
it. Yeah.
and Aikido suffers because of that. Because
Right. Exactly.
people like
Exactly.
you and I who've dedicated our lives to Aikido,
Yeah.
and then we get to the point where we turn around, we start to kind of share that with others, and we do it on a
Yeah.
scale that's not so sustainable. That
Right.
we really, we do our best, because we're committed. We'll run our dojos, even if we have to pay the rent ourselves. We'll kind of keep it going, and that's just not a sustainable system, and it puts a lot of pressure on the teachers, which is a shame because the teachers are there to teach and give, and yet at the same time we're carrying a lot of weight. So there has to be
Yeah.
a slightly different. We have to look seriously at this system, and there's no reason why Aikido couldn't be
Mm.
also people, planet, passion, and profit. That in a way that's completely
Right.
compatible with everybody's sensibilities. I think that what happens with
Right.
many of us is we kind of, especially if we see Aikido as a higher path of development, there's
Yeah.
somehow a spiritual or philosophical element to it, and we kind of
Right.
we see Aikido as something higher and money as something lower or
Yeah.
materialistic, and Aikido is
Right.
spiritualistic. So we have this
Yeah.
kind of gap. So we move away from the material attachments and basically issues that are there, that are clearly there. Money is the root of many evils in the world. So we move around, we move away from that into this kind of spiritual path, and there's something that move is natural, but in that move we also kind of throw out the baby with the bathwater. And the whole idea of an entrepreneur is that we, at least as I understand it,
Mm.
we try to find a way to have an impact in the world with our passion that's
Yeah.
sustainable, that serves people, and at the same time serves our purpose. And and
Mm.
finances is part of that. So that's the whole idea of an entrepreneur. And I think Aikido does have some cool entrepreneurs in the world. And
Mm.
I think that the survival of the art, the development of the art, the propagation of the art is going to be based on that, because we don't live in the old cultural structures that support us. We have to
Mm.
create something new that's more appropriate to our times, as one
Yeah.
aspect of Aikido, not as certainly not as the bottom line.
Mm. Yeah. Nice, nice. Very happy you're touching that subject. I
Yeah.
think that can help Aikido grow, which sometimes has trouble.
Yeah, and I have to tell you,
And
I have to tell you, Rokas, I think it's your generation that's going to crack that code. It's not going to. It's not going
well,
to be
but
the.
somebody needs to.
Somebody needs to do it exactly, and I think it's not going to be the baby boomers. I mean, God bless the baby boomers. They're certainly, most of that generation, most of the Aikido teachers, leaders today are from that generation. I'm certainly kind of at the end of that
Right.
generation, and they brought us far. But will that model take us further? We all have to kind of get to the core of the art. That's for sure. That's always going to be the case, and you can get it directly. But there's a maturity aspect to it as well. But the new generation has much more connection with what's happening in the current times in terms of the power that we're given, that's placed in our hands through this medium of the internet.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And one more thing, just in terms, you did mention a bit about your work, but just in terms of somebody is seeing you for the first time, could you tell a bit more about your projects, your vision, what you're doing, so people could know who to thank for the conference?
Okay, all right. By the way, I have to tell you, some of these Zoom, some of the conferences are actually going to be also on Facebook Live. So there's a capacity to do it live on Facebook. We won't do all of them, but we'll do some of them. So and those will be all scheduled. So everything will be very clear about when to attend and how to attend. As far as who I am, I'm whatever. I'm Miles Kessler. You can find out about me at my website, theintegraldojo.com. I have a dojo here. I'm American, but I live here in Tel Aviv, Israel. It was a long journey. I left the States when I was 26, lived in Japan for 8 years, spent 8 years after that following Japan, kind of meditating every winter on retreat in Burma and later Nepal. At the end of that 16-year wandering period, I settled here in Israel, which was one of my seminar stops, and I was teaching tour, I was doing an Aikido tour every year, and so I settled here. Sorry, I just had a phone call. I'm going to have to turn that off. Excuse me. Just give me a second. And so I have my dojo here. And in addition to running a dojo here, I'm also kind of scaling the dojo to an online training community. So that's theintegraldojo.com. Yeah, so basically I'm offering online trainings with basically Aikido principles, Aikido meditation, Aikido masculine and feminine principles, Shuari. You can find more about that on my website, theintegraldojo.com.
Right. So for that case, I'll include we had a talk in the past, like a year ago, where you talked a bit more about your work. So I'm going to definitely include a link. So whoever wants to check, please do check. Yeah, but if it seems like online, you have a good presence online. So if anybody was looking for a Aikido course online or similar things, they can really look at your work, I guess.
Yeah, great. And look, the main thing is, really kind of join us for this teleconference. Aikido at the Leading Edge. The way you get there, I mean, Rokas will add a link to this, but you can go to my site, theintegraldojo.com, and there'll be a banner there. You can just click to go over. And the landing page will be on our Integral Dojo online training site. But the best way to get to that site is basically at theintegraldojo.com. You'll see a big banner for Aikido at the Leading Edge. Click it. Take you right to the landing page, the registration page. You can read all about it, see all the great teachers that are involved, see the format, the schedule, the structure, and a place to put your email address in, and boom, you're in the conference. That's all you got to do. I mean, there is an additional, you'll have to download the system, the Zoom system to your laptop, but that's pretty simple, and then you'll be able to join. And it's so cool, but you get, there could be 100 people on each call, and you just see them all. It's all video conference, so it's really, really cool. And if you're camera shy, you don't have to put your video on there. Don't worry about it. Let me just take care of that.
Sure. So cool, awesome. So thanks very much for sharing. I'm really looking forward for the project, and I'm really, really happy it's happening. So yeah, if anything comes up, I'll update all the news on my channel as well, so people can follow.
That's great, Rokas.
Everywhere.
Fantastic.
So good. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best with your work, and I'm looking forward to having you on the conference as well.